Now, with the tee-up video out of the way, for anyone who's questioning what tee-up video, this one here, click this, go back in case you haven't watched this, watch this. This is a warm-up. So Ignace is blind. That is harrowing. This is the first, is this the first time that they've ever blinded a Final Fantasy character? I think it is, and he is blind. I mean, look at the walking stick, look how he's just sat there, look at how his eyes are burned in the Chapter 0 vid. I'm convinced just from these pictures alone that he is, and I'm convinced even more so because, as I said, 3 months ago I was going to make the call that Ignace was blind, and you're thinking, how's that even possible? What did you see 3 months ago? So it was the Four Sons of Odin video. Now, for anyone who hasn't seen that, I found a lot of very compelling, very scary similarities in personalities, in what they do, in who they are, and their relationship to Odin. If you haven't seen it, or if you have seen it but you can't quite remember, I'll give a very slim version of what I said. So, Four Sons of Odin, the ones identified was Noctis as Vidar, the legitimate son of Odin, the most legitimate one, also the youngest and the strongest, Noctis in every way, who would fight Fenrir the Wolf, the Bringer of Darkness, looking to destroy the cosmos, aka Ravus, who Noctis clearly does fight, even back as far as verses 13. Then there was Vali, the most fortunate marksman, who went through a big transformation. There were other bits as well. Then there was Hermod, who I said was Gladiolus, and Hermod was considered Odin's boy, Odin's servants, and one of Odin's sort of warriors. And of course, that is exactly what Gladiolus is to Regis. And like I said, as well as a load of other stuff, you have to see the video to get the full breakdown. And then finally, I said that, and this was the brother I was most uncertain of. It was Ignace. And I looked through the Sons of Odin and I linked him to Bragi, because Bragi, pretty much his main trait was that he was very poetic and well spoken in his speech. And of course, Ignace is very much that. But there was one brother that strongly compelled me also to believe he was Ignace for the exact same reasons. And that brother was Hodr. Not Hodr from Game of Thrones. I don't want to be Hodr. Hodr. Hold the door! Hold the door! Hold the door! Hodr, he was another one. He's nothing like the Hodr character from Games of Thrones. Now, Hodr is a peacekeeper, is good Hodr. Someone who really would not commit a dark and terrible act, and you can see that with Ignace, our beloved cake baker, making his banana jam. You just wouldn't imagine Ignace to do anything bad, and you wouldn't with Hodr. But Hodr in Norse mythology does something so terrible, so dark, that was one of the reasons I could not even begin to imagine to label any of the brothers as being connected. And the other aspect, the second thing as to why I didn't want, it wasn't just because of what Hodr does, but also because Hodr, he is blind. He is the only blind one. It's actually his trait. It's what he's most named for. He's actually called the Blind Son. And he does something very terrible. But before I get onto that, there's just one other thing I want to touch on. Or lay this up. Going to Corleones, you saw my video, and back when I did the Sons of Odin video, I really considered looking for a son that could be Corleones, but back then I wasn't so sure if Corleones was more sort of a guard as opposed to actually a son. But then we saw that Corleones is just as much the fifth member of the party as we've always seen him to be, sort of back in the verses 13 days, and everyone always described him as the fifth member of the group. I did my Corleones video, and the links with Daigoro, Lionheart, and of course Daigoro in Final Fantasy is a Japanese lion, and of course Daigoro means fifth son, so that really convinced me it was fifth son. So now I'm doing the Sons of Odin video again. I have to look for who Corleones is, and I didn't have to look far. I knew instantly which son I needed to look for. How did I know? Because Hodr, his terrible act is directly against one of his brothers. And this son is Balder. And Balder, what is he most known for? Balder is the wisest of the sons, for one. Quite clearly, Corleonus is the wisest of the group. Clearly. We don't even need to talk about that. The other thing is that Balder is the only son of Odin who is deemed an immortal. An immortal! And as my tee-up video said, I said, remember Corleonus the immortal? And Balder is mother Frigg. She makes a deal, she makes a pact. I can't remember exactly what she does in Norse mythology, but it's his mother that makes him invincible, or at least believed to be invincible. And remember in my Corleonus video, I talked about Corleonus's mother, the reason why he would hate Niflheim. I said that Diagoro's mother gets killed by a military empire. But I'm gonna stop teasing you. I'm gonna get onto the dark act. It's time for a story. Let me move this squeaky ass chair in. Let's settle in as I take you on a grand story of Norse mythology. Balder, the immortal god, so known for his immortality that the gods, they actually used to amuse themselves by trying different weapons on Balder and seeing if they could do any harm, and they failed over and over again, which got him the immortal title. But he had one, and only one weakness. And guess who found out the weakness? Loki, the mischief maker. Now, I'm putting a picture of Ardyn up at this point, because you know I've been linking Ardyn to Loki. And I just want to say at this point, the concept of Loki is so vast. There are so many stories. And because Square, they work with concepts, and they can twist, bend, manipulate, use aspects of anything they want. I don't believe the character is Loki is anyone. I don't believe Ardyn is actually Loki. I think aspects of Loki's story are being used with Ardyn, but I also think they're splitting it up among other villains because there are multiple parts of the story of Norse mythology. I'll explain that more at the end. Loki, after finding out Balder's one and only weakness, he goes over to Hodr, the blind son. And he does about the most deplorable thing possible. He tricks Hodr into shooting in Norse mythology, it was an arrow made of mistletoe. Mistletoe being his only weakness, because Frigg believed that mistletoe was so insignificant, so harmless, that there was no point in protecting her son from that one thing. And Loki found out that one weakness. And Loki went straight away, fashioned an arrow of mistletoe, and tricked the blind son into shooting his own brother. Balder fell dead immediately. Now I need to stop there, because if that happens, if Ignace kills Corleonus inadvertently, he gets tricked somehow by Ardyn, and Ardyn could do it. If Ignace and the group don't know that Corleonus is an astral, I don't know, there could be some sort of astral shard that if you destroy it, or anything, there could be anything that causes this to happen. And the reason it connects so well with Norse mythology is because Hodr, the son who would never murder, he goes into shock after he kills his brother, and it's seen as a betrayal at first. Now what's the fallout from this terrible occurrence? The brothers, it causes a feud between the brothers. They start to argue among themselves, just like the trailer, how heated they got. And the exact brothers argue. One, Vali, the most fortunate marksman, he instantly wants to get revenge. He wants vengeance. Then you've got Hermod, who I said was Gladiolus. His approach is very different, and he's the one who disputes what they want to do the most. Hermod decides that he wants to find a way to bring Balder back, and he wants to go to hell, the Norse underworld, and bring him back. Now I need to stop there, because you saw my Nyx video. I said Nyx is born of chaos, and I'm doing a video right now where I prove that the astrals all come from chaos, as well as about 10 other things where we have clearly seen chaos. You have to see that video, but you have to bear this in mind. So Where would you go if you wanted to bring back Corleonus, who, if he is an astral, made of chaos, born of chaos, you would have to go to hell. And where the hell is in this game? And let's just define in Final Fantasy who rules the underworld. It's always been, in Fabula Nova Crystallis, Etro. She's been the goddess of the underworld. She's been the goddess of chaos. And I'm going to be showing where Etro, who Etro is, who's replaced her, but that the concept of her is there. So if Gladiolus wanted to bring him back, he would have to go to wherever the chaos is. And that's exactly what he does. Hermod, he takes Sleipnir, the horse of Odin, who Odin loans to his sons to travel the world. Where have we seen that? The regalia is Regis' car, loaned to the brothers. He takes Sleipnir and he drives to hell in Norse, or he rides to hell in Norse mythology. He gets there and he sees Baldur lifeless and cold on a throne in the underworld. Again, if we go to the parallel here, the throne of chaos. That was exactly what Ifrit was sat on, the throne of chaos. Nyx is born of chaos magic. I could well imagine that Corleonus could be sat on the exact throne, because it's the throne that is the chaos link to FF1. What was sat on it in FF1 with the 4 arms and the horns that was a different shape, that was chaos, but of course it's now Ifrit. But the throne is the part that is the chaos, so it's there. And before I move on, what I also say is that Baldur, before he got transported on, I can't even pronounce it, Hirringhorn, I think it is, the largest of all ships, to hell, as he was carried to the ship, Odin whispered in his ear. The question of what he said was said to be a key riddle asked by Odin. Where else have we seen this in Final Fantasy 15? Nyx, who I've said is going to be playing the exact same role, more or less, as Corleonus, a guard who was turned into an astral. He had Regis whisper to him in Kingslgaive. It happened when he was before the Council of the Lucii. Regis whispered to him. So that link is pretty mind-blowing as well. When I read that, I thought, oh god damn. So moving on, going back over to Vali. So Vali, he's very vengeful. He wants vengeance for what has happened. Hermod, he tries to get Baldur back. He disputes with his brothers about it. And you're probably wondering, where does Noctis come into all of this? The son who I said was Vidar. Now what I want to also point out is that Vidar and Vali in Norse mythology, there's actually they're very often depicted together because they're actually very good friends, and they're actually 2 of the youngest of the fucking Aesir. Oh my goodness. It's just so Final Fantasy 15. That's exactly what Noctis and Prompto's relationship is. Vidar, in all of this, he is still hell-bent on getting vengeance for his father's death. But despite that, he still recognises his brother Baldur's death and the deceit of Hodr being tricked into killing him. He also wants vengeance, just like Vali. Oh, the narrative is so similar. Oh, let's continue. How does this play out? So, with Brotherhood separated, one wanting vengeance, one wanting to bring back their brother. And of course, you have to remember this is all leading up to Ragnarok. And what is even scarier is that it says that Baldur's death is the first thing that initiates the beginnings of Ragnarok. Not much is written about, especially on Baldur and Hodr after that point. A lot of it's been lost to the times. It actually says the only recount of them is not until they emerge after Ragnarok. And this is a bit of light for you guys. It actually says where he and his brother would be reconciled, and they would meet up at the end of Ragnarok with the other brothers, where they would talk about the Midgard snake, which is Jormungandr, and the Fenrir wolf. So, and those are 2 key creatures who are responsible for Ragnarok. Now I've connected Ravus to Fenrir, and of course that's who Vidar fights. I think Noctis will fight Ravus, and Ravus is responsible for bringing the darkness as well. As for Jormungandr the snake, I don't know yet, but I will talk about that another point. All I'm going to do is point to this picture of Genesis down here. this unanswered serpent creature that is not Leviathan as people thought. There is a key snake creature in this game. It could well be Jormungandr. And these sons, they go on to rule the world together and rebuild from the ground up, because Ragnarok more or less destroys everything. But this story, this tale, this is only happens when they meet up at the end of Ragnarok on the final cycle. Because in Norse mythology, the entire story is that the Ragnarok happens over and over and over until the final cycle, where the heroes prevail. And that's exactly what I believe is going on in ffxv. I've connected that to the Brotherhood. That's exactly why they called it the Brotherhood, because the sons of Odin, they're all brothers, and it's only with this dynamic of relationship between these brothers that they prevail. It's happening. Whether I'll get all the details right, this is what I'll say, whether I get this all right, or whether this all happens in these sequences, Square Enix are using this, but I need to make it so clear that they will twist and adapt. You have to think of it like they have a big table, and they will spread all kinds of Greek names and mythos on one side because they're using it. And I'm actually going to be doing a huge Greek mythology video that is going to be so dope after my Chaos video. And on the other side, they'll put loads of imagery and research on Norse, and they will pick and choose what they want. And this is where I want to come back to Loki. I said he was Ardyn, and I said that Loki in the Marvel adaptation, there is those who sit above in shadow. You best believe Square have seen it. Come on, you literally Google Norse mythology, you will see those who sit above in shadow, the adaptation that Marvel used, where they are stood like this, just like the game cover, 5 of them in the shadows, and they speak to Loki. And I said that that was Ardyn, and Kingslgaive kind of proved that Ardyn knows about the Old Wall. In fact, it seems like his entire mission was the Old Wall. He was impressed by it. Without a doubt, he went there for it. Or the Old Wall was on his radars. And of course, those who sit above in shadow, they're ffxv. That's exactly what ffxv. Those who are responsible for keeping the perpetual cycle of darkness in place. That's what ffxv were. This game was going to have ffxv, always was, it still has. Tabata's own words, most of the concepts have still stayed. But like I said, they're going to pick and choose. So whether they do have Ignis kill Corleones, or how that... No, I'm not saying that my theory is that Arden is going to trick Ignis into lobbing a stick of mistletoe at Corleones, but... no, they can pick and choose what they want. And this is what I want to talk about Loki. He's such a big character that I believe they've distributed roles of it. So Loki's interest in talking to those who sit above in shadow, I believe Ardyn wants that. As for the entire side story in Norse mythology, because it's a side story, this entire side story with the trickery of Hodr to kill Baldur, they wouldn't give that to Ardyn. Because you can't give Ardyn everything. You can't just make Ardyn the villain for everything. So when they were looking to explore this side of the story, it was an opportunity for them to introduce a brand new villain. And what villain have we seen? Who clearly wants Baldur, or should I say Corleones, dead. And what does his name just so happen to be, who appeared on the airship, called him Corleones the Immortal, clearly has a grudge for him. His name was Loki, and oh, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The Square, they're looking at introducing new villains, and they saw this side story, they ran with it, and they decided, they've given a lot of things to aspects of Loki to Ardyn, but they gave aspects of Loki to this villain, and they actually cheekily thought, let's just call him Loki, but we'll spell it different, they'll never notice, and guess what, no one has. So that's my Norse video. I'm gonna move on, I'm gonna get this Chaos Theory video up, I'm gonna film the second half as soon as I'm done. This is so dope, guys. You say a lot, what you're saying would be amazing if Square have thought this deeply about it. And I believe they have, and a lot of you said this makes the game so much more amazing. It deepens your appreciation for it when you know these links, and you're gonna play the game, and you're gonna see these links forming in your mind if you know to look for them, and it does. It really appreciates deepens your appreciation for the story. I'll leave you off with one more interesting little detail. Arden, where would he come into the story of Norse mythology in other ways? I don't believe, like I said, they've given him aspects of Loki, but I don't think that's entirely Arden's story. I think Arden is a character who isn't entirely evil. He isn't. I think what Arden is actually doing is almost heroic. And that's going to sound strange, but you have to remember, nothing is either good or bad, and you can actually perform noble acts, such as removing corrupt gods above gods, which is a noble act, but you can go about it in unnoble ways, and that's kind of what Loki does. I want to point out, Loki is often branded as a villain, and when you see stories like this where he tricks one brother into killing another, you think, yeah, he's an arsehole. When you watch the latest Thor Avengers movie, you think, yeah, Loki's a villain. Actually, it was hugely debated whether Loki was a villain. In fact, he does many heroic deeds, many noble deeds. The problem with Loki is he just does them in an arseholey way, and that's exactly what I think Arden does. What else have I been saying about Arden? 2 words. I've been calling him a sneaky snake, and I've been playing very casually and light-heartedly with the idea of being him being Bahamut. Well, in Norse mythology, it literally says the overarching villain of the whole Norse story, or one of the big overarching villains, is Nidhogg. And who is Nidhogg? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Before I say who he is, basically what he does is he attacks Yggdrasil, which is the tree of life in Norse mythology, where a lot of the world's guardians resides, and he's responsible for the death of a lot of the world's guardians. I've been saying that about Arden. And what Nidhogg actually is, he is identified as a dragon, Bahamut, and a serpent. It's kind of debated which he is, whether he's a dragon or a serpent. And it says his existence is a threat to both giants and gods, and as a result he gets imprisoned. But when he gets imprisoned, he is also he heralds Ragnarok. Nidhogg heralds Ragnarok. He actually sets it up because he is responsible for the world's guardians dying, and that brings about Ragnarok. It's so scary because Arden, and I think that's Arden. I think we have to look at Arden definitely either being a summon, being connected to the summons, or in some way having above average knowledge of them. That is very suspicious because he, like I said, he is responsible for enhancing Niflheim's power, and I've said how I think he's done that. I think he's tapped into a source of energy, a forbidden source of energy, aka the astrals. I've said now that I think the astrals are made of chaos, and this is the tee up for the chaos video. Arden delivers the power of chaos to Niflheim. They actually want to remove chaos from the world, but they don't realise that they are actually, through Arden, also using chaos, and my chaos video will explain all of this. Until the next video, guys. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.